Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. The Witchy Goth here, hope you're doing well. Today's video is the second in my 1 in 4 series. This is yet another horrific story, so I'm going to issue a trigger warning. This has got quite a twist in it. It's from Reddit, it is ongoing, and there are edits and updates at the end. So I'm going to read through this, and as I read through it, I'm going to give my thoughts and comments as well, because as I say, it is quite long. So if I had to go back over it again, it would be a long video. So again, trigger warning for this story. I, female 35, have a son, male 18, and a husband, male 45, who I'm attempting to divorce. I met my husband when I was 16 at the church in my hometown. At 17, he invited me over, and I don't remember it well, but we ended up sleeping together. I was supposed to be cleaning his house for some extra pocket change, but ended up pregnant. I still can't remember everything that happened, but when my parents found out, they confronted him and made me marry him. I had my son not much longer after that. I find it strange that she can't remember what happened, so I do feel that this was a very traumatic time for her, because trauma can do that. It really can prevent us from remembering. So it's almost like a protection mechanism that the brain will put into place. I don't want to remember that. I don't want to remember this. And she may start to remember later on. She may never remember. If she does go for therapy, hopefully she can work through this. My husband's a brute. He was always mean to me. I tried my best to make him happy. I'd cook his favourite foods, clean the house, extra nice, do childcare work to make a few dollars to buy him a treat or two. But if I made one mistake he didn't like, he'd hit me. I used to cry to my father about it, but he'd tell me it's my punishment for having premarital intercourse. I'd ask my father what my husband's punishment was, and he'd say, "His punishment is having to settle for you." I don't think I ever recovered from that. Before anyone asks about my mother has always been kind of out of it. What an awful father. Absolutely awful father. His punishment is having to settle for you. And this man, her husband, physically abuses her. He clearly blames her for everything that's happened in his life. Meanwhile, he was partly the cause. Now, again, I don't know why she doesn't remember. Is it that she's put this trauma out of her mind, or were there some form of intoxicants involved? So coming back to the story about her mother, she's been on medication since I was a child, and she's kind of like a zombie. She doesn't talk much or do much of anything unless my father says so. She was different when I was little, but I hardly remember those days. She hardly remembers those days when she was little. I do feel that her father was probably quite abusive as well, and she may have shut that out. The fact that her mother is on medication is a good indicator that the mother is trying to protect herself. The hitting got worse, to the point where I wasn't really allowed to leave the house, or if I did, I had to wear makeup, or else my husband would think I was trying to get him in trouble. So he probably left physical marks on her face, and the coercive control there, that he wouldn't let her out of the house, that she had to stay indoors. That's just horrendous. It reminds me of a book by Stephen King called Rose Madder. If you haven't read it, read it. It's a really good book. My son grew up watching this. I've heard stories of kids hating their abusive fathers, but my son loved his father more than he loved me. I never wanted my son to hate his father, but he started acting out, and eventually he started laying hands on me. Just let that simmer. The son has started physically abusing his mother because of what he's seen his father do. He probably feels that this is normal behavior, and he will probably take this into any future relationships that he has. My son started hitting me when he was 10. It was light and I'd tell him to stop, but as he got older, he started beating me. If I told him no, he'd beat me. If I didn't do something he wanted, he'd slap or kick me and even punch me. And my husband would back him up a lot of the times. He'd say, he's just learning to be a man. He'll stop when he's older and has his own wife. This is the perpetuation of that abuse. It is patriarchy, it is misogyny, it is placed into the men in her life. As I say, her father, she doesn't remember much of her childhood, so I can't say yay or nay on that, but her father was very, 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 demanding in that she marry him. And this man has then, whether he was abusive before or not, we don't know. It could have just been abuse that arose later because of the situation that he was forced into. And of course, then the son has seen this, and in his formative years, it has now become normal for him. So the son will more than likely go on to do this to any other woman in his life. As the father says, when he's got his own wife. It got to the point where I was terrified of my baby. The only thing in this world I ever got to make, and he terrified me. When he was 16, he broke my arm really bad because I showed my husband his report card. My husband disciplined him but never told me how. I grew up to hate my son so much every day, but I still tried to be good to him to help him. He didn't want that. I couldn't make him want that. I couldn't sleep or eat without dreaming of my son and husband hurting me. I can imagine that. This woman must have been absolutely terrified. Every day she would have been walking on eggshells, trying so hard not to do anything that would set these two men off. My son once pinned me on the ground because I had asked him to help me lift something. I'm frail, so I can't lift much. She said she's frail, so she is probably a very diminutive, small woman. When he pinned me, he hit me a lot and I could feel it. Hurting me aroused him. He humped me for a few seconds and then he started screaming at me, saying it was all my fault, and locked himself in his room. This physical abuse for him has become an intimate release. And he is blaming his mother for his action or his reaction to what he was doing to her. So his action and his reaction to what she was reacting to, and blaming her for what he did. I didn't tell my husband. I should have, but somehow I felt like I would have just gotten hurt worse, either by my sons or my husband. And yeah, I do think that would have happened. I do think that the husband probably would have blamed her. And the son would have then taken it out on her when the husband wasn't around. And I actually think she made the right decision there. She should have gone to the police, but she was in a place where she couldn't, where she was stuck. She was terrified. She was frozen. She lived in fear every day of her life. He was 17 when this happened, so last year. After his 18th in January, I packed a bag and wandered off into the night. I don't have friends. My father wouldn't help me even if I told him these things. I slept on a park bench and went to the library and looked up a woman's shelter. I worked really hard and got a studio apartment. I don't know how, but my son found me. He spent hours at my door knocking and crying for me, calling me mama. He hadn't called me that in years. I was terrified he'd break the door down and drag me back to the house, but my neighbours made him leave. That behaviour from him was coercive. He was trying to get her to come back because he needed his punch bag. And with her having left, his father may well have turned to physically abusing the son. My son has somehow gotten my number, and now he, my husband and father, and some of my son's friends are texting me, calling me horrible names. My son says I'm a bad mother for running away and not loving him the way he loves me. Hang on, he loves her in an intimate way, which is wrong. She loved him as her son. And he has done things to her that have clearly killed that love, within her. My husband says he won't grant me a divorce and that he'll take whatever I have right now and that I failed as a woman. Well, she hasn't. She hasn't failed as a woman at all. All of this has been blamed on her. Everything. Everybody's errors here have been blamed on her, and she's taken the brunt of everything. My father says I'll die alone because I'm a bad woman. She's not a bad woman, and, you know, it takes two to tango. Again, coming back to the bit at the beginning, she doesn't really remember what happened. So with this man being physically abusive, her husband physically abusive, could he have coerced her into that initial intercourse? And to be honest, if she dies alone, she'll be happy. She'll be much happier. My father even got my mother on the phone to speak to me. She's all pilled out though, so I shouldn't take her words to heart, but she says that a woman can never abandon her child no matter how painful life gets. I disagree with that, because that child takes after his father. He has seen what his father does, and he is now doing the same because he thinks that that is how he should react. That is how he should be towards women. And she does not have to stay there. So her mother, by the looks of it, is also being coerced by her father, the mother's husband. She told me when my father hurt her, she never left me, so I was a coward and a failure for you leaving my son. Yeah, so the mother was physically abused by her dad and takes pills to obviously counteract that, to numb her into a state where she can cope instead of leaving, and is now telling her daughter that she has to experience the same thing. This perpetuation of family, of this abuse. She said she could forgive divorce, but not leaving my baby behind. Am I the AH? Edit. While I have no issues responding to comments, the idea of replying to personal messages terrify me for some reason. Please don't. I'll be upset if I don't message you. I don't mean to be weird. Rightly so. I mean, you know, anybody could be on here messaging her, and you know, it could lead right back to where she started. But she's not the AH, most definitely not the AH. She has done the right thing for herself. Her son is old enough to look after himself. If he's old enough to try to grape his mother and physically abuse his mother, he's old enough to look after himself. Edit 2. I've been reading a lot of comments and I'm grateful and very overwhelmed. I won't get too specific, but I just packed an essentials bag and have purchased a ticket for out of town. I got off the phone with a shelter a few thousand miles away, and they're willing to get me once I arrive in their city. I'll figure out divorces and restraining orders once I'm finally there. Until then, I'll read comments to see if there are any more useful things to learn. Luckily, my studio is on a month-to-month lease because I had never really planned on making this a permanent home, so leaving is as hard as I thought. Running away is the first time. Running away the first time was hard, but maybe the second time will be easier. Probably. Because now she knows that they're not going to stop, that they're going to carry on, because these people need a punching bag. They need to take out their anger on somebody or something. Update. Here's a small update, and I likely won't update again due to being nervous about everything, but I'm on a bus. I got on this morning and I'm about 5 hours away from the state, and then I'll be getting on a plane. I had enough money for a ticket, so I'll be super far away. I won't work on the divorce until a few months from now, and I have a small job lined up. It's nothing special, just a $12 an hour fast food gig. I'm grateful for all the advice. My old landlord was sorry to see me go, but I paid off this month's rent and told him he can sell the little bit of furniture I had. He said he'd give me half of that money once it's all sold. He's very kind. A little scary looking, but when I spoke to him over the phone after I had left, he was very understanding. Thank you all for everything, and I'm sorry, but this is the last thing anyone will hear from me unless I work up the nerve to update again. You are all incredibly wonderful and special people to me. Further update. I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it has. I just want you all to know I'm fine. I have a roommate now. She's a lovely older lady who plays piano. She's been allowing me to rent a bedroom for her, and all I have to do is pay $300 a month and help her around the house when I'm not working. I have a divorce lawyer who's been dandy with me, though it's a little difficult since my husband is so far away and not being kind about it since I won't communicate with him outside a lawyer. My son hasn't come close to finding me at all, though I do miss him sometimes. I mean, I gave birth to him. It's hard to be strong about my feelings regarding him, but I know I'll never allow myself to be near him again, no matter how sad I feel about it. And she's right. It is going to hurt. You know, he was her child. She gave birth to him, but he is not a good person. He needs help. My roommate is around 59. That's not really old. And she's a lovely baker. She teaches me all these lovely recipes for cobbler and so on. I know it's weird, but I feel like she's the first real friend I've had since I was a small child. I haven't tried dating. I don't think I will. I also tried marijuana for the first time. Absolutely pleasant. My roommate got it for me. She uses it for her back pain, but I use it for bed. It helps me sleep without night terrors. I feel like I'm learning what life is now, and I actually love it. And I hope she does go on to love it and to live her best life. This is what some women have to experience. This is why so many women are choosing the bear. They're choosing not to be in relationships with men anymore, because these are the kind of things that happen. What an awful existence for her mother. What an awful existence she had for 18, 19 years. Her father was awful. I hope that her life turns out to be wonderful and that she has every happiness in the world. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you next time. Blessed be.